Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a changing of the seasons here in Philadelphia. Not spring to summer, not yet at least, but baseball season is officially upon us. And what does it change? Because trust me, I'm going to explain how the Phillies season and the perception of it just changed last night with something that didn't even have to do with them. Also, we're going to look into the Phil's 4-game series with the Giants that starts tonight and preview everything going on there. And Ranger Suarez, more accolades are in order. We'll discuss it all in today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out here. Appreciate that very much, anyone who's done that already and anyone who's going to. And today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Guaranteed fit for eBay. Guaranteed fit only available to you as customers. I got to apologize to you guys right off the bat. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but my upstairs neighbor is either having a pool put in or he's building a shed in his apartment. I don't know. There's drills. There's hammering. I don't know if it's coming through the microphone, but if you can hear that, I apologize. I can only do so much living in the apartment building. So sorry, we're going to podcast through. Tough podcasters make big plays in big-time situations, so we're going to do that. Now, this first segment is going to be an interesting conversation. I'd like to welcome anyone who's joining us for the first time this season because last night, I'm wearing my Sixers sweatshirt here. If you're watching on the YouTube, you can see that. If not, just imagine a blue Sixers sweatshirt. But the Sixers season ended last night. They got knocked out of the postseason in the NBA. And you might say, what does that have to do with the Phillies? Well, in some towns, the basketball team has nothing to do with the baseball team. In Philadelphia, the focus of this city's fan base can be super intensive, right? We know the pressures that come with playing in Philadelphia. We saw it with Nick Castellanos in his first year as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies 2 years ago. We saw it with Trey Turner last year. We also saw what positivity could do. I mean, look at what the standing ovation did for Trey Turner last year and how it helped him turn his season around. Look what he's doing this year, too. Unbelievable start to the year. We saw what happened with Alec Boehm and the eye-blanking, hate this place, and then owning up to it. And then the standing ovation for him the next game and the fan base acknowledging that he said it, but very happy that he manned up and faced the music. And Alec Boehm, ever since that, has turned into a premier third baseman in the game of baseball. And that shows you the power of a fan base as passionate as Philadelphia Phillies fans. But to be honest with you, while the Philadelphia Phillies were busy racking up 21 wins to start the season, the most in all of baseball to this point, they have the most wins in the major leagues. We talked about that a little bit more on yesterday's episode, so you can go see a full discussion about the month of April and everything that went right. A lot of people were focused on the Philadelphia 76ers, who were heading into the postseason. Let's be honest. The NBA postseason, significantly more important, more impactful. Those are win or go home series compared to the first 33 games of the Major League Baseball season, 33 of 162. I've been giving you conversation every day. And if you're one of the Phillies fans who've been locked in on this since the get-go and since the offseason every day, I appreciate that. And I'm not talking down to anyone who's just joined us. But this is something important to note, right? The conversation around the Philadelphia Phillies is about to change. With the Sixers done, the Phillies are the only major four sports team in the city of Philadelphia that's currently in season. The Eagles aren't playing, the Flyers aren't playing, the Sixers aren't playing. So now the spotlight of this city turns to the Philadelphia Phillies. And for the next 3 or 4 months, they're going to be the only show in town, really. Shout out the Union, but the only major four sports team in town. And what that means is the conversation surrounding the Phillies is going to become a lot more intensive. When they win, people are going to get excited. They're going to say, wow, this team is special. They're going to jump on the bandwagon just like a lot of you are already on seeing that month of April this team put together. But also what's going to happen is when this team struggles. There may be parts of the fan base that are seeing these struggles for the first time or seeing these in a different light, as this is the only sports source of entertainment in the city currently. Well, major, just I acknowledge the union. I'm going to treat it as the only one. We know the standing as far as baseball compared to soccer in the United States. But that changes things, right? It may add extra pressure to the players, but it could also be a benefit. Citizens Bank Park had to split time with the Wells Fargo Center as far as where you're going, what you're watching. Same thing with the television broadcasts, or a lot of times where teams played on the same night. Now it's just the Phillies. And I'll tell you also just kind of the landscape. This is important for the Philadelphia Phillies. Major cities with 4 major teams, they exist in the sports landscape. These teams are not on an island. They feed off each other's success. They have to try and make up for other teams' failures. And the Eagles had a major collapse. The Flyers missed the postseason by having a major collapse at the end of their regular season. And the Sixers just got knocked out in the first round. This city needs a win bad, which means a lot of people are going to be depending on the Phillies for that source of sports happiness that we haven't gotten from the last 3 seasons of winter sports in this city. And that's going to come with a lot of scrutiny. So it's going to affect the players potentially as well, right? Knowing that they're the only team. They're still just going out and playing baseball. They are. But if you think this fan base is not going to reach a fever pitch focusing on how good this team can be, you don't know Philadelphia. And that's going to be, I think it's going to be a benefit, right? Because I fully believe in the ability of this team, the strength of their roster, the unbelievable job they've done to start the season and get out to a hot start, 10 games over 500 at this moment. And they got 4 games coming up against the Giants this weekend. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I think this could be a really good thing. This city's dying for a team to be successful, and the Phillies have a strong claim to being the best team in Philadelphia as currently constructed right now. And when you build momentum with the fan base, Citizens Bank Park is packed. Everybody wants to go out and spend their summer watching Phillies baseball. When 6:40 p.m. rolls around, you're going to want to turn the TV on, and you're going to want to watch Tom McCarthy and John Kruk and listen to them call the game. You're going to want to throw the radio on, listen to the radio broadcast. You're going to want to go down to the park and get a Sunday out, a 1 o'clock day game. Like, this is the beautiful time of year where the Philadelphia Phillies take center stage. But as you know, if you've ever seen any type of show or act or anything, when that spotlight's on you, you better be good. There's no one to take the focus off the Philadelphia Phillies right now. And this is a great time for them. But the other thing that I want to remind everybody too, they've had a relatively easy schedule to this point. And this upcoming month, May, also a relatively easy schedule. The summer's going to get a little bit tougher. So let's enjoy these times while we have them. Let's hope that the Philadelphia Phillies build a big enough cushion that we don't have to worry about like making up ground like they did the past couple of years. The past couple of years, they were below the watermark and they had to swim to the top. They had to fight their way through June and play outstanding baseball the rest of the way to make a great season. Now, well, they have everything laid out in front of them with the start they've gotten, and they've got the city support behind them turning on full force with the Sixers season ending. So this is a shift in the focus. Like I talked about shifting seasons, we are officially, as of last night when that Sixers game ended, as of today, the first Phillies game post-Sixers season, we're in full-on baseball season here in the city of Philadelphia. And again, I think that's going to be a really good thing because I believe in the strength of this team. Just be prepared for the narrative surrounding the Phillies to become much more prominent when you're talking to your buddies, when you're turning on the local sports talk radio stations. Maybe you'll hear me on 97.5 The Fanatic if you're up early enough in the morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's going to be a different feel. And as long as you're good, that's a good thing. So, center stage, take it away, Philadelphia Phillies. They're going to start by having a 4-game series back home at Citizens Bank Park against the San Francisco Giants. That series starts tonight. We'll discuss everything you need to know ahead of that matchup with the Giants and what to expect from the series, all of that stuff, as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. And I'm going to tell you about eBay Motors to start, right? Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your vehicle alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and also to level it up to peak performance. It's not always just to fix stuff. Maybe you want superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. You might be into speed, power, or style. Well, either way, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. I know how expensive it can be to fix a car. My car in the shop right now. You want to save as much money as you can. eBay Motors is going to help you do that. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's talk about, I've set the stage for the Phillies taking center stage in the Philadelphia sports scene. Well, how did they start doing that? With a series against the San Francisco Giants. The Phils are back home from their road trip. Cincinnati, San Diego, Los Angeles, and they come back with a 7-3 record on that road trip. Awesome road trip. 1 sweep, 2 series wins, 1 series split. They haven't lost a series since the second series of the year. And this one against the Giants, I'm going to remind you, every single time when you play a team over 4 games, unless they're a bottom of the barrel team, I'm talking Chicago White Sox, Miami Marlins, teams like that are just dreck right now, you're going to be looking at the expectation, right, should be split. That is the expectation every time I see a 4-game series, unless there's extenuating circumstances. So if you win 2 out of 4 against the Giants, guess what? You're in the same exact spot, 10 games above 500 as you were when you headed in. 10 games above 500 is a pretty darn good spot to be this time of year. Just letting you know that. So that's kind of my expectation for the series. But let's look at some of the pitching matchups and some of the players that are having good years for the Giants so far. I guess a good month and change for the Giants so far, and see where the advantage lies in this series. Tonight, the pitching matchup, Jordan Hicks, who was acquired by the San Francisco Giants this offseason, wanted to be a starter. They gave him that opportunity. He's shown that was the right move. He's 2-0 with a 1.59 ERA, a .91 whip, 34 innings pitched. He's had an outstanding start to the year. He's got 27 strikeouts, so not a huge amount of strikeouts, but he's gotten the job done for San Fran. Nola on the mound for the Phillies, who's 4-1 with a 3.2 ERA, a 1.07 whip. So a strong pitching matchup in this one, but it's nice to see a righty after seeing a good amount of lefties on the road trip. I'd expect a normal lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies have the advantage on the money line, minus 170 favorite betting odds in the opening one tonight. I'd expect them to take care of business tonight, but Jordan Hicks can be a tough matchup at points, so we'll see how that goes. Kind of a toss-up in game 1. Game 2, we're going to talk more about this guy in our final segment because Ranger Suarez had himself a heck of a month of April. But Suarez is back on the mound Saturday night, 6:05 p.m. He's 5-0 with a 1.32 ERA and a .63 whip. Are you kidding me? It's almost a half a base runner an inning. That's crazy. Could you imagine allowing 1 runner every 2 innings pretty much? That's essentially what Ranger Suarez has done. He's going to be facing off against Keaton Winn. Keaton Winn has a 3-3 record with a 3.18 ERA. Not bad. A .97 whip. What's really kind of been hurting him, well, I guess compared to Ranger Suarez, 10 walks so far in the year and 34 innings pitched, so you can work the count a little bit against him. Only 28 Ks, so you can be a little bit more selective against Winn. Another righty, the pitching matchup obviously in the favor of the Philadelphia Phillies in that game. Then you go ahead and you look at game 3 of this series, and you say, okay, Taijuan Walker gets the ball again. He'll face off against Logan Webb. Taijuan Walker was not all that sharp in his first outing, but it was his first outing at the major league level. And he got a win. He's 1-0. If I know anything about Taijuan Walker, he's great at finding wins somehow. Won 15 games last year, but that 8.53 ERA doesn't exactly look great. Meanwhile, Logan Webb, another righty, 3-2 record this year with a 2.98 ERA, a 1.30 whip, and he's only allowed 1 home run all year. He just keeps the ball in the ballpark. That's why the ERA is down. And that's going to be an interesting matchup. But what are we hearing? Righty, righty, righty. And let's see, the final game, a 4-game series that's going to run until Monday, which is unique. You don't often see that. An undecided mark for the San Francisco Giants in the pitchers department. So we don't know. But Christopher Sanchez is going to take the mound for the Phillies. So Christopher Sanchez against undecided. I'll take Sanchez. Taijuan Walker goes against Logan Webb. I'm looking at that as advantage Webb and advantage Giants. Ranger Suarez, obviously, always advantage and a toss-up in game one. You see how I get to a split every time? It seems like no matter who you play or how you break it down, you're going to have the pitching advantage in one, maybe two games. One's going to be a wash. One's going to be maybe not in your favor. So that's why you kind of look at it that way. If the Phillies win this series against the Giants, win 3 games out of 4, I wouldn't be surprised. If they sweep, I'd be ecstatic. If they lose this series, I would be surprised. But 2 out of 4 ain't bad. I think that's how it goes, right? Is that what Meatloaf sang? Is that even Meatloaf? I don't know. It's not a music podcast. It's a baseball podcast. So cut me some slack if I got that one wrong. There's 2 sides to a baseball game, though. You got to talk about the hitters as well. So let's look at some of the numbers for the San Francisco Giants. They're batting .238 as a team on the year. As far as home runs, they've got 29 to the Phillies 40. Now, the ballpark difference does matter. Bigger ballpark out there in San Fran, a little bit different weather. They have that weird kind of like marine layer thing that happens sometimes in San Diego too, being on the bay. But 29 homers to 40 for the Phils. The slugging is not as good for them. The on-base percentage is pretty solid, 303 as a team. The Phillies 328. I mean, the Phillies are ahead of them in basically all the major offensive stats. More hits, more homers, better on base, better average, all of that stuff. So the offensive advantage goes to the Phillies. We already talked about the pitching matchup, and we know the pitching goes the Phillies' way. They have one of the best, if not the best, staffs in baseball. As far as the offense is concerned, just looking at the individuals for the Giants, their leader in home runs is Jorge Soler with 5. Michael Conforto, batting .250, is the best qualified batting average. For example, Alec Boehm, best qualified batting average on the Phillies, .362. And Conforto, also their leader in RBIs with 16. Boehm's got 30. It's unbelievable. It's why he was NL Player of the Week last week. It's why he was on the All-MLB team, or I guess the MLB Team of the Month for April. Talking about Alec Boehm, obviously not Michael Conforto. The advantage is the Phillies' way offensively. If you need any more proof, we can go through some other stats with the San Francisco Giants and look at some of their averages. I mean, they've got one guy batting over 300. It's Lamont Wade. Actually played with a good buddy of mine at the University of Maryland, so I remember Lamont. He's batting .318, but he's batting .318 in a total number of at-bats of 66. So all their top guys are like Chapman batting .226, Lee batting .250. We talked about Conforto batting .250, Estrada batting .230. Soler leads the team in homers, but he's batting .212. I mean, Wilmer Flores batting .239. You're just like, they don't have great averages. They're not a great overall hitting team. And they also strike out a good amount. Chapman's already got 33 strikeouts. Soler's already got 33 strikeouts. Conforto's got 28. Estrada's got 27. If you're looking at maybe some betting odds over on strikeouts for Phillies pitchers, it's probably a pretty good mark to have, especially with Nolan going tonight, who can be a strikeout guy when he's on. That's the big difference in this matchup, right? The pitching may be close in a couple games, but the Phillies offense is it's just better, guys. And that's why they're such a good team. And that's why they're better than most teams they play. So I don't know. The guys to watch, Soler can get hot, especially in a small ballpark. You're looking at a chance for him to go yard once, maybe twice in the series. But the Phillies being back home is probably a good thing. The weather looks a little bit iffy for this weekend too. So be careful with tickets. Make sure you check the weather first, see if there's a potential rain out. I hope they get all 4 of these games in. Maybe we see a doubleheader one of these days with rain in the forecast on Sunday. But ultimately, not too much to worry about with the San Francisco Giants. And I'll tell you what's good, too. We haven't really seen this yet for the Philadelphia Phillies. We've seen righty, 2 lefties, righty, lefty. Like, they haven't gotten a consistent handedness pitching-wise. They're going to see 3 righties in a row. And with an undecided pitcher on Monday for the Giants, there's a chance they could see 4 right-hand pitchers in a row. You know what that means? Lefty-heavy lineups, which is when the Phillies are at their best. So feel good about this series. You totally should. I do. A split is okay. A win would be great. A sweep, not a realistic expectation. Certainly a possibility for the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, I'd be ecstatic. That would be great. This team's playing really good baseball right now. Get to 23 wins by the end of this. You're feeling solid enough about where the Philadelphia Phillies are. All right, wrapping up today's episode, we got to give a round of applause to Ranger Suarez again. You might say, dude, you talk about Ranger Suarez every episode. Yeah, he's the best pitcher on the darn planet. And if you don't believe me, we're going to talk about another award he took home just earlier today. We'll discuss it as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, Prize Picks. I told you about strikeouts. We'll bring that up in a second. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. And, you know, the copy here brings up the NBA and NHL playoffs. I'm going to talk baseball because the Sixers broke my heart. But baseball's fine. Listen, the baseball season's officially underway. We're rolling. We're a month in. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your Prize Picks entries. It could be strikeouts. The Phillies could have a lot of strikeouts in this series. I'd look at Aaron Nolas tonight. It could be RBIs. Alec Boehm, 30 already. A remarkable mark. Or you could look at the lefty hitters because you're facing 3 righties in a row. There's a lot of ways to check it out. You take your pick of more or less and you add them to your Prize Picks entry today. You can go ahead and make some money. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So go ahead and check it out. Prize Picks is the best. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get a first deposit match up to $100. Again, you download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You get a first deposit match up to $100. A crisp Benjamin Franklin in there for you to use. So go ahead and check it out. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's just that easy. And I also want to tell you about Monopoly Go. Listen, you know Monopoly is a way that you can find some fun. You think about the old board game, you're like, I love playing with that with my family. Well, how about you jump into the 21st century? Why don't you? Check out Monopoly Go, okay? They're the best. I know what you want to say. Well, I like the classic board game. Well, I don't need all this newfangled stuff. There's just so much good stuff in this game. You have to see what Monopoly Go's got in store. You can team up with friends. You ever been friends with someone you play Monopoly with? No, come on. But you want to be friends with everybody. So team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. And there's so much to get. You can get cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. You can get emojis to taunt your friends. You can get unique stickers you can trade. Plus, Monopoly Go, it feels new and exciting every day. With constantly changing tournaments and challenges, a ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. It's a reminder, I got to pay my rent. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on with Monopoly Go. Man, how much do I have to say about Ranger Suarez? I love complimenting the guy. No one deserves it more. Great guy, great demeanor. He's had a rough couple of past years with injuries, visa issues, all this kind of stuff that's affected his ability to be right for the start of the season. And I've told you before in previous episodes, I thought people were overstating it with how good they thought Ranger Suarez can be this year. Talk to fans, callers on the radio, or saying, Ranger Suarez, Cy Young. And I'm like, bro, slow your roll. Just because he's healthy doesn't mean he's Nolan Ryan. He's good, but is he that good? And that's not me doubting him. I thought he was going to be a great pitcher, but there are people talking like he is the second coming of Roy Halladay or something. And I'll tell you what, he's lived up to expectations so far this year. He really has. Earlier today, Ranger Suarez was named the National League Pitcher of the Month. And who else could it have been? The dude had like a 33-inning scoreless streak this month. He's dominant. He just doesn't lose games as much as I talked about Zach Wheeler being an auto win, knock on wood. And I'm not going to say that about Ranger Suarez because I almost jinxed Zach Wheeler. But if you had to ask me who the best pitcher on the Phillies is, Zach Wheeler or Ranger Suarez, right now it's Ranger Suarez. It's unbelievable. The highest paid pitcher is Aaron Nola. The going to be highest paid pitcher is Zach Wheeler once his extension kicks in. But Ranger Suarez is the best pitcher on the Phillies, the best pitcher in the National League. And for my money, the best darn pitcher on the planet right now. So congrats to Ranger Suarez on National League Pitcher of the Month. Guess what? National League Pitcher of the Month means you're probably on a pretty good track to be in the Cy Young conversation. It's early. There's a lot of months in the baseball season. But what an awesome accolade for Ranger Suarez. It's his first time winning the award, and my goodness, does he deserve it. Credit to him. He's set to be probably an all-star this year if he keeps anything remotely close to this up. One thing I want to remind you, all right? This isn't going to go on forever. It's a long season. Even the great seasons of all time don't have this consistent of great pitching all year long. There's going to be rough games. There's going to be moments where he doesn't look as sharp as he's looked in the first month. But we see what his ceiling could be. We've already seen that in postseasons of the past, and it's great to see it realized early on in a regular season. So, again, congrats to Ranger Suarez on that, and it's a great time to be a Phillies fan. So, Phillies, like we talked about, it's time to take center stage. Go ahead and keep doing what you've been doing. Keep winning series, keep winning games. It's going to be a fun summer here in Philadelphia. And you're going to spend it with us here on Locked On Phillies like you did today. So thank you so much for checking us out. Come back next time. All right, Monday, our next episode. And we're going to talk about what's going on in the Giants series. We'll not have to review the series because there'll be a game Monday, but we'll talk about everything that happens over the weekend and get into all that great stuff. But that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. It's the number one way you can help out our content here on Locked On Phillies is by subscribing to the YouTube. So thank you to everyone who's done that and everyone who's going to. I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.